All right, today we're going to show you how to reverse the Midwest Hearth auger motor. Just make sure you're facing the back side of the motor. Have your nut driver handy. First we're going to remove the two black screws. Those loosened up so that we can get them pulled out. One and two. Then we're going to remove the bearing cap like so. And then we're going to remove the black, we're going to remove the two silver screws holding the magnet down. Then we're going to remove the magnet. Now what we don't want to do is pull this out at the same time. We want that to stay there. So I'm just going to wiggle this loose. See how I'm pulling it off, leaving this in, and then I'm going to flip the magnet over, and that's what's going to reverse the rotation of the auger motor. So I'm going to get that back on. And the trick is making sure that it's seated. You'll know it's not perfectly seated there. So I need to work this until it snaps into place and it's really well seated. Then I just want to double check to make sure this is seated all the way in, simply by pushing, making a clockwise rotation, just to make sure that is all the way in. Then I simply reinstall the two silver screws. When we're tightening these, we want to make sure that we don't crank down one side and then the next. We want to kind of spread that torque between the two, again, so that it stays seated flat and one side isn't over tightened compared to the other. There we go. And again, I'm not over tightening it either. It's nice and solid on there. Then we're going to put the bearing cap back on. Kind of the same story with the bearing cap. It's a little finicky on how it seats, so you'll want to make sure that it is also properly seated. Come in those holes there. Oops. Make sure that's seated. There we go, that's one side. And two. So now you can see both are fully seated in there. And then we can put the black screws back in. And this one especially is important not to over tighten one side compared to the other. That's because this bearing cap, you can imagine, if it's tilted even just ever so slightly one way over the other, it's going to have the cap pin this so that it won't be able to spin. And so you want to make sure this can freely spin. So as we tighten them down, I'm just going to make sure that I get them close, and then I'm going to alternate torque between the two. Again, you don't really have to crank these tight either. You just want them to be nice and snug. Again, over tightening can cause that main wheel not to spin in there. There we go, and it is now reversed. That's the process. And we can hook this up to an electrical source just to make sure that it's rotating properly before fully installing into the stove, because obviously if it isn't spinning, you'd want to know now before it's installed in the stove. Just a standard 110 electrical connection here will help you determine that it's spinning. If it's not spinning, we'll also do a little video on troubleshooting. It's usually almost always because something here is just a little bit out of whack, and you're going to need to loosen and retighten a little bit so that this wheel isn't pinned anymore. But it's really that simple. Thank you.